Okay.
Let's see.
Video. Can you guys see me? Hello everybody, if you can hear me. This is live streaming. This is my first live stream, so you can't see me at the moment. I can't see me either. I am trying to sort it out. I have literally just uploaded this software, so I'm trying to get it working. Okay. Oh, there are so many options here. Output. No. Recording. Oh, come on. Come on. Add a source. Add a source. Oh God. I don't know if that will reduce the echo somewhat, hopefully. Can somebody in chat tell me how to... Sorry, did that reduce the echo at all? And can somebody who runs OBS tell me how to get the camera to run? That was driving me crazy. Sweet, okay, thank you. Hi Lewis. Hi everybody. Okay, bear with me. I'm now going to check the help portal on the OBS broadcast, so open broadcast software. Tutorials, quick start guide, set up audio devices, Add your sources for video. Doesn't capture any video by default. Get start. You need to add a source at the bottom of your window. It's called box called sources. Click on the plus. Select game capture. Windows for non-game applications or video capture for video or webcam. Okay. Plus. Aha! Video capture device. Add existing. No. Window capture. Ah, oh, thank God. Okay. Is this gonna work? I don't know. Can anybody see me? Is it loading? Theatres of Blind Adventure. Yeah. Selecting camera is tricky. That should be going, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, okay, so I've loaded up my my video here, but it's not showing in the OBS. So I'm rolling a sanity check. One moment, please. I rolled a 2. Okay. Why is it not playing? Buffering auto detect. Use custom audio device. Okay. Oh, come on. This is very frustrating. Well, the camera's definitely turned on, that's for sure. Definitely, yeah. So what I think I'll do is I will deactivate and then activate again my camera. If I can find where it is plugged in. Maybe that'll work. Is that even working? Can anybody hear me? Is that too loud? I don't even know. You hear? You do not see. We have sound. So now I've got, my camera is showing on the OBS studio, but I don't know how. I don't know how to get the damn thing to, like, I switched over to the split screen view and now I don't know how to get out of it. So as soon as I can figure out, oh God almighty, stop giving me options and just give me a frickin' view. No. I don't know. Oh, believe me, I'm not reading the comments. Voice only is... Oh! Look, I just appeared. So is there going to be a weird disconnect between my audio and the video? Is the video really delayed? No, you did give very good advice. Hi, Flying X-Blade. Hi, everybody. I do have a face. Hi. It's synced? Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. When I ask questions, it's going to take like 30 seconds or something for me to get an answer. So first, hello, everybody. Thank you for bearing with me. Oh, man, what a nightmare. And I've got a bunch of questions that people had asked me from off stream who weren't going to make it tonight. So this first one's from Ryan Morrison. What is the limit of the D&D universe? How does the core canon multiverse interact with new lore planes entering its realm of existence? Could it be observed from within the planes? This obviously came about just before I just uploaded the video on the Spelljammer. So new universes can pop into the Spelljammer setting all the time. They're just a new crystal sphere that will appear in the Phlogiston Sea and becomes accessible. Whether you can reach it through an extraplanar portal is another story. So the scope of the D&D multiverse is unlimited. You can put any amount of crystal spheres in there that you want. Hey Grant. Cool. A wild Kiwi appeared. Hey Brad. settle down and listen. John Glass, I hope that answers Ryan's question, that basically you can add anything into it. John Q. Glass says, if the plane of Earth has vast mineral wealth, this is the elemental plane of Earth, and creating a portal there is not difficult, why don't more players and NPCs gather resources there? Because it's populated by elemental lords. So elementals are like spirit beings, they're energy beings that instead of us inhabiting bodies, they just inhabit any earth material around them and can assume control over them. This is why genies are so powerful, because they're mortal spirits that combine with an elemental spirit, and so genies suddenly get control of any sort of material that they want to. So that's the power of wish and stuff, because they can reorder matter as they wish. So an elemental, when you enter the elemental plane, you can't see the elementals. They're moving around inside the elemental stuff, and they'll only interact. You'll only see them if they suddenly move the rock through the air that you're in. So if they get up and move around, most of the time they have no need to do that. For them, the rock is a medium that they can travel through all the time. So it's extremely hazardous to mortal creatures that enter the true elemental plane of Earth. Although there's rich resources everywhere, they exist in pockets of air that are not connected through caves and things like that, so you have to burrow through the earth. And to elementals, that will be an annoying insect that they will quickly crush if it gets in their way. So it's very dangerous. Hex Bombastus writes, I have a player who's incredibly indecisive. When put on the spot in combat or important social interactions, it often takes him 5 to 10 minutes to decide what to do. Obviously, this drags down gameplay to a seething crawl and annoys my other players. Any advice for helping him out? Well, I'm glad that you're asking about helping him. I don't have any advice for you. Dungeons & Dragons is a game, any role-playing game is a group interaction exercise. So I can give advice on rules and settings and things like that, but as for the actual gameplay, it's just you sitting down with your friends. And I'm not the person to come to for friendship advice. It's an interpersonal decision how this person is. So yeah, my advice is just as good as anybody else's. Ask his mum. I don't know, how does she interact with him? I hope that answered that question. Yay, TMG livestream. Hello. Hey Keith, how's it going? Hey everybody. Oh, by the way, nice TMG cup. Gators Prime writes, how do you create your own monster and give it stats? What I usually do is I take a pre-existing monster, or I've got a printout of the relative challenge rating and the stats for creatures, and so I grab that as a template, and then I just add in whatever abilities and features that creature should have. The larger it is, the easier it is to hit. The smaller it is and more nimble it is, the harder it is to hit. I gauge the damage that it can do appropriately to what the characters can handle in the game. It really comes down to what I want that monster to achieve story-wise than anything else. Gameplay, mechanics and things, you just get used to it. Using the challenge rating, that's what I use challenge ratings for, is creating creatures and things which are on a par and aren't going to overhit or underhit the challenge that the characters are expecting. And then I just gauge it on the fly, really. Other than like designing encounters around challenge rating, I don't do that. There's another question in here about challenge rating, which I'll get to in a minute. So yeah, I give them stats according to what powers and things that I want them to have. Jason Scranton says, love your YouTube videos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How long have you been playing D&D? Where did you go to put together your amazing research? Do you have any other game systems that you've tried or enjoyed? Someday I'd love to hear about the history of the Mega Dungeon. I think they're a little misunderstood by most DMs I've talked to, and wondered if you had any thoughts on them, if you've ever run one before and how you would run or design one. Good luck on the stream. Thanks, I need all the luck I can get. So I started role-playing back in the 80s. I'm from the original Red Box Dungeons & Dragons basic set. And I didn't start role-playing straight away though, as soon as I got it, because I didn't have anybody to play with. And back then, of course, nobody had heard of Dungeons & Dragons. So it sort of sat on my shelf, and I read it and loved it. And I've got huge nostalgia every time I see those pictures and things, and like the halflings and dwarves and things from the basic
box set books will always be what I think of when I think of halflings and dwarves and things. But it wasn't until I came across who would become a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, Max, and he was trying to sell his companion set of books, which is the blue box, because obviously they were no use to him, and he must have brought them with him from wherever he was, England or something like that, I'm not sure. But we got to eventually playing Dungeons and Dragons. We played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons with our friends Ashley and a bunch of others, and we became lifelong friends basically. Although that was a long time ago, so we've all moved on, and some of them have families, and we've scattered to different towns and things like that. But a lot of us have carried on playing D&D. Not to the extent that I have, though. It became a lifelong passion of mine, and is the main reason why I know most of the people I know in my life right now. And I'd hate to say it, but one of the criterions of whether I'm going to hang out with you on a day-to-day basis is whether you roleplay or not. It's that simple. It's like somebody who's into cars hangs out with people who are into cars. I hang out with people who are into role-playing games. As for the range of role-playing games that I've played, a lot. Primary, for many years, Palladium was my game system of choice, and I played a lot of Heroes Unlimited, Ninjas and Super Spies, played Mechanoids, Robotech. I've played Star Wars, Traveller, Tune, Car Wars, just heaps of different games as they've come up through the years. I tried playing Mech Warrior, but that wasn't for me. Although the lore of Mech Warrior is really good, the gameplay is awful, or at least it was when I played it, and I hope it's improved. I also did some writing and things too for, let's see, this is Rifter number 23, and if you go through and look at, there's an article in here by a little guy named, where is it? Me. So I wrote an article for the Blade Mage and the Rifter for Palladium books. And I also had paid blogs and things that I did as well, which nobody's ever heard of and are now not even on the internet anymore because they sold the website. So, but they were really good, some of the stuff. And that's where I learned that I'm very good at researching things and creating resources for people to use. But it was actually Gareth, DMG from the crafting crowd, who gave me the idea of, I did a video on ropers because I was sculpting a roper at the time, and he said, why don't you do monster ecology videos? And so here I am. And the research that I have is from, I have every single dungeon magazine, I've got every single dragon magazine, I have I've got boxes of D&D books, and the rest of them I get from, there's a website called Scribed, which has got a lot of PDFs and things. You pay a subscription and it gives you access to all these PDFs. It's of dubious legality if you ask me, but I have a vast amount of PDFs of all sorts of stuff. I've got all of the Volos guides, all that sort of stuff. It's not a matter of what information I do have, it's what information I can find in that huge pile of it. So I've become very skilled at sifting through all that different things. Wikipedias, of course, are very good, though the Forgotten Realms ones are a little bit out of date now. They need to be updated. And of course, I'm a member of a lot of Facebook groups, the Sages of Candlekeep, the Sages of Faerun, Forgotten Realms, Toril. There's a lot of groups, so if you see me online, I'll be hanging out on those Facebook groups, particularly the Sages of Forgotten Realms. Yeah. And the mega dungeons. I haven't actually run any mega dungeons myself. That's like huge, big things. I do have a friend who ran a campaign where it was nothing but dungeon. So the entire world was a dungeon. It was like a universe of dungeons. So sort of like the people were inside the elemental plane, and there was just rock everywhere. And the vital resources were ration packs and water and things like that. That was the currency that people spent. So that was kind of interesting. But it gets a bit tedious, particularly these days where people don't really play hack and slash, kick down the door and loot things. Ian Dunn, if you're willing to answer a question of mine, I'm running a campaign heavy on airships content. Do you have any tools for airships or know of setting that has rules for them? Yeah. I just made a video on Spelljammer. right? And Spelljammer has got all sorts of information on airships that you can run. Because in Dungeons & Dragons, airships can also leave the atmosphere, and I realise I'm doing no painting at all, but whatever. Airships can leave the atmosphere and go out into wild space, and from there they gather an envelope of air around them. Gravity and stuff works differently in the Dungeons & Dragons universe. So you can travel through space with a pocket of an envelope of air around you. So airships are more common on worlds than we would like to think, because they travel between different spheres. Yeah, so airships definitely. So I'll be covering more. I'm doing a whole series on Spelljammer, so I'm going to be talking about ship designs and things like that as well. So there'll be a whole video on that sort of stuff for you, definitely, as I work my way through the list. By the way, now that I've got you on stream, anybody who's ever wondered what my list looks like, I write everything down. This is the current state of the list. There we go. I've got a couple of scratched off up the top there because I had to tidy it up a lot. But that is all of the requests that everybody has given me, and I work my way through them, and every now and then I take a break and just do something that I want to do. So it is an actual physical list. Any sages here from Forgotten Realms? Yeah, me. Haha. Spelljammer. Yes, Spelljammer. Hey everyone. Hi everybody who's just joined me. Okay, so that was John's question. I hope that I answered that. Caleb Above writes, since creatures like werewolves have gods, do other kinds of creations like golems and vampires have their own pantheons? That's a really good question. I think golems probably not. Golems are an interesting case because they're an inanimate object which is given a divine spark. The legend and lore of golems in folklore is that there's a holy script, like a little scroll, which is written down, a command word from God, which is put into the head of a golem, and that's what animates and gives it life. This is from Jewish folklore. And the same sort of thing goes with the phylactery of a lich, for instance. It's like a script, or it's a little, it's a promise, it's a contract, which is inside the phylactery. Same sort of thing with the golem. It's got a phylactery which captures a soul, which drives this thing. So with Warforged, for instance, they do have a soul. I guess they travel to the afterlife. That's never really been overly discussed, as far as I know, in the lore. And so yeah, I'd imagine that Warforged would, given time, I mean they've only been around for what, 1,000 years or so. They given time, they would come up with their own pantheon and stuff, and they may generate their own god from the astral stuff. Although they could quite easily latch onto Gond, for instance, or Moradin, who are gods of crafting. That would be a sensible thing, I think. As for werewolves, werewolves are crazy. Werewolves are mad. And so Malar and other gods of savagery and violence and primal nature, that would definitely be a thing. Hey, wow! Thanks for the donation. Thank you very much. I honestly didn't think anybody would do that. Tiernan Mealy, thank you very much. That's awesome. Wow. Okay. Jusamanity, great name. Will you redo your older videos in their current format? An example would be your Gold and Silver Dragon video. Yes. Slowly but surely. I've got so much content to put out. The main reason why I'm updating things is, one, because the sound quality on my old videos is awful. I know this. And I really do want to get around to redoing them just for quality purposes. I'm also, mainly though, for my own personal benefit, is that my understanding of things has increased a lot since I started making these videos. Obviously, I've been researching stuff for like 2 years now, so it's like you wouldn't even study that intensely at university. So I understand a lot more about the monsters and things like that, so I can give a more in-depth answer to things, I think. So I wouldn't be rehashing exactly what I wrote before. I would be adding to it. So that's the main reason why I do it. Thank you very much. Dubba. Hey, Scott Poe. Hey, nice to see you, man. I recognise all you guys from the message boards. It's really great. The chat. Okay, so James Coyne says, "Who is Yanogu?" So I'm guessing you mean Yanogu, who's the demon lord who created Knowles. Yanogu also did a lot of other awful things. So he's one of the Lords of Destruction, which I'll be covering in later videos for sure. Yeah, I really like Yanogu. He's horrible. And those Demon Lord videos have been very popular. Wow, I think something like 30,000 views on some of them. That's crazy, man. Car Wars, yeah. Car Wars was great. Thanks everybody. Love all the compliments. Oh, you make me feel so validated. Bahamut, yes. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get Bahamut done. Yes, I have so many things which are like pressing concerns that I need to get done, because I really do feel obligated to get the stuff done that you guys are suggesting, because you've steered my channel in the right direction. Honestly, without your input, I would have no idea what to do. There's just so much to do. Unlike other video channels, I don't have the problem of not having enough content and having to search around for it. I have an overwhelming amount of content that I want to get out and done. Every time I'm researching stuff, it sparks me and my inspiration just as much as it does you listening to it. So, yeah, crazy amount of stuff. A robot pet. Artificer rules, yeah. Artificers are very cool. They were a big thing in 4th edition, particularly with Eberron. I'm waiting to see more Eberron stuff come out, for sure. I mean, it was the latest setting that they had, so it makes sense that it would come out. Definitely. Thanks. Thanks, Grant. Nice to see you, man. Meanlocks, yes. Meanlocks, they're on the list, I'm pretty sure. I've got them. Meanlocks are on the list. I'm going to try and make a version of Meanlocks that kind of combine the best version of Meanlocks, because as you know, somebody who's passionate about Meanlocks, they are not what they once were, that's for sure. So yeah, Meanlock. Malconthet, people have been asking me, yep, Meanlock, right there. Malconthet, people have been asking me about Malconthet a lot, so she's on the list for sure. And Harsafs and Yars and Yagyes, if anybody's ever heard of those. That was a patron request. Grungs, Lachey, the Raven Queen, all there for sure. Going to try and get to it as fast as I can. Whoa! Ian Dunn, thank you very much. Wow, thanks a lot, man. That is awesome. Yeah, lots of Spelljammer videos coming your way. I got enormous amount of feedback from you guys for the Spelljammer videos. Thank you very much. That steers me in the right direction for sure. It navigates my way through the phlogiston. Yes. I believe. Oh no, the lore of the Knolls is definitely tied in with Yanogu. I'm going to have to look up, do some more research on that for you, for sure. Enlisted Spellweaver, yeah. I'm glad you guys liked that little sketch that I did. Gorelick, Acererak. Acererak is very powerful, yeah. Not as powerful as Vecna, but he was getting up there. He never embraced godhood. He had no need to. So his desire for power has always just been to continue to exist, and he literally hates adventurers. That's the reason why he keeps creating these death trap dungeons. Good. Javier Solate, definitely make your own channel for sure. You'll notice that I make shout outs and things like that to channels all the time, because I really enjoy seeing other people doing the same sort of videos. I have no sense of competition with anybody online. The more the merrier as far as I'm concerned. There's an unlimited amount of potential for growth in Dungeons & Dragons as we head forward into the future. Technology is just going to make that more and more viable, and it's getting more and more live stream. I saw the lady who played, she was on that show with the geeky people. She did a video, Blalick, she did a video on Dungeons & Dragons the other day. and yeah, that was like just a window into the home market for it. Nerdarchy and Dawnforge cast, yep, they do great things. For those of you who expect me to do team-ups and things with Dawn Forecast or Nerdarchy or other channels of that ilk, not going to happen. A lot of water under the bridge with those guys and various others. So yeah, I don't really get involved with what they do, their homebrew settings and things like that. Good luck to them, but not really going to have anything to do with them. More questions. Hang on, I've got to get through these because people are so good to post them. Please explain how challenge rating works. Does it make sense? It's not really accurate. No, it's not really accurate. It's like armor class. It's a representation of something. So challenge rating is good for making sure that you're not way overshooting the mark on the challenge that your party will be facing for that specific encounter. It's not really designed to show you what will kill them or not kill them. It's something which will deplete their resources or be a challenge for them. Combat encounters aren't really supposed to be lethal. They're supposed to wear the adventurers down somewhat, so that it uses up their resources and things, because it's meant to be an ongoing adventure. Yeah, there should always be a solution for things, and sometimes combats are really easy. Sometimes it is a cakewalk. Sometimes they do just kill everyone in the room and think, what were you doing, DM? Sometimes my own players will say, what are you doing throwing an owlbear at us? We're level 1, and they win. They kill the owlbear. One of them dies in the process, but they get brought back because they know they've got the resources to do it. So it's very much checks and balances. Challenge rating is not something for you to use to run your game. It's something that you can measure your game. It's like a dipstick in the tank of difficulty. I hope that gives some idea. I did a video on challenge rating, or how to handle challenge rating like a boss. That's the actual name of the video. You'll have to go searching through my channel and find it. But yeah, that will help you for sure if you haven't seen it already. Dovahkiin writes, in my campaign in the Tomb of Annihilation, we are coming up on Omu. Is there any lore you know about this forgotten city in Chult? Yes. Omu was basically the center of the worship of the god of the place. So Chult is interesting because it was a primordial that helped the other gods. Basically, he betrayed the other primordials and ended the Dawn War. So he helped the deities assert control over the mortal worlds. So in exchange for that, they gave him Chult as his own land. And he suffused himself into it. He basically yoded his way back into the swamps of Dagobah and diffused himself and became one with the jungle. So, and his creations were the dinosaurs that you find there. They're not dinosaurs that evolved anywhere else. They're creations of Omu, because he liked savage and bestial nature at its rawest form. The worshippers of Omu, the worshippers of him, what was his name? I forget. The worshippers of that god, that primordial, believe in, they have patterns and mazes and things like that. So Omu is kind of like that. It's a big ring sort of city, but it's very, very old. And yeah, and it's basically an African culture. So if you watch Black Panther, take a lot of inspiration from Black Panther. Fantastic movie. Yeah. I let Dizuz6 writes, I let my players use their phones at the table in case they have to do a quick lookup or rules lookup or something. Recently I've noticed they will be looking up monster stats as I throw them against them. How do I prevent this type of metagaming? Should I only describe the monsters visually, or should I make them up on my own? I really enjoy using the iconic monsters of the realms in my setting. Keep up the great work. So you kind of answered your own question there. If you spot that your players are reading up on the stats of creatures all the time, change the stats on them all the time. So the metagaming will work against them, and they will quickly learn not to do that. Otherwise, it's really just a courtesy thing. If you explain to your players that it's ruining your enjoyment if they do that, fair enough. Then they'll probably take some notice of it. Because everybody likes hanging out with a DM that will run a good game for them, and yeah. But I mean, you shouldn't stop that. Shouldn't stop you from using creatures in the game. I've used things like ropers and things in the game in such a way that the players didn't even realise they were getting attacked by ropers until the things opened their eye and their mouth right next to them. They'd already been roped and they thought they were being pulled with ropes from some other creature. The ropers literally just sprung out of nowhere on them and they weren't expecting it. Iconic monsters are a bit like that. You can get people with sturges and beholders and cloakers and all that sort of stuff, and they don't realise that they're actually facing this iconic creature until it's too late. So they can't really make any preparations for it. They can only just fight for the best. So yeah, that's the best example. Again, that's a table management sort of thing. Not really my forte. Beard Bear writes, what time I will be there, but one to answer, how would you get your different parties to meet if they've been somewhat adversarial but not total enemies? 2 parties. I actually ran a game a long time ago, which was a chat room game sort of thing, a bit like this actually. Yeah, yes, Adventurers League. Acquisitions Incorporated also did great crossover there. What is your favourite monster turn player race? Yeah, I'll get to that. Where was I? 2 parties. I had one group of people play an entire scenario, an entire adventure, and then the next night I got another group of people playing that exact same adventure, except they were interacting at the same time inside game time as the other adventurers were playing through. So I recorded everything that they would do, or they were doing, and then the other guys encountered them as NPCs in the game, which was really cool. As for 2 groups meeting each other, player characters are people. So however they interact is however they interact. It's got a lot to do with the individuals at the table, I think, if that's what you're asking. And if you're talking about an NPC adventuring group, well, it's really up to the Dungeon Master how they interact with the player characters. There used to be an old sort of attitude system where you'd roll a d12 to determine how people react to somebody else. And I occasionally use that myself. That is a good question. Customizing monsters, yeah. Grung and Greyhawk, yeah. They are a bit weaker, but don't forget that in 5th edition, mobs, groups of creatures, are much more powerful. If you're playing the game right, because everything's sort of balanced more so that they've got a better chance of hitting you. Yeah, so there are weaker creatures in Dungeons and Dragons these days, but if you get a large mob of them, for instance, orcs always attack in groups, and that's why orcs are so devastatingly powerful. Humans also always attack in groups of adventurers and things. That's why humans are dominating the world. Elves and dwarves not so populous anymore, so they can't muster armies to conquer entire regions. They can get flanked. They are weaker, yeah. Yeah, I also like boss monsters coming back, but I know when I've pushed it too far, and I give the players the opportunity to kill them. Ben Holman writes, do you think an entirely naval campaign with a party being a crew on a pirate ship or something along those lines would be entertaining for the length of a decent campaign, or do you think the novelty would get old after a while? I think if it's something that your players have agreed to begin with and said, oh yeah, we'd like an archipelago campaign where we spend most of the time as swashbucklers and things, then by all means, they'll let you know when they're getting bored with it. Chris Perkins' long-time campaign was an island-hopping adventure of that very ilk. And of course, don't forget that you can have ocean-going vessels and things which are huge and complex, and you can have dungeons underneath the ocean and all that other sort of stuff. It's just an environmental concern mainly. It's like if you're running a winter campaign, or if you're in Athos for the Dark Sun, and the Athasian deserts are like an anti-ocean. You have to contend with water loss and not having metal and things like that. So it's a flavour that you add to the existing campaign, but it doesn't really limit your options overly much. Yeah, movement becomes something which is a lot more interesting on the sea, because you have storms and you've got oceanic creatures and things which you can't see until they're right on top of you. So yeah. Question group won't meet up for another 2 to 5 weeks. We seem to get through very little in our sessions anyway. Any way to roleplay over chat or something? Google Hangouts is what I use as my go-to. So if I was going to be running games, I would definitely be doing over Google Hangouts. That used to be a lot more useful. They had add-ons and things like that for Google Hangouts, but I haven't been doing it for like a year or two, so I don't know if everything's changed or not. But that's what I use for sure. Or Skype. You can use Skype as well, but it doesn't have like dice rolling programs and things like that. You'd have to come up with something on your own. Or there's Roll20 or yeah, those sort of programs. Ho! The Axe Fund? Hey, Rusty Spears, thank you very much. Rusty Spurs, sorry. Thank you very much. The Axe Fund. I've actually got a sword. I don't have an axe. I really need an axe. You're right. Just from a ethnic point of view, since my ancestors were from Norway long ago, 145 years ago. Eardrox. Eardrox writes a lot of different questions. Oh, sorry, Keith Simon writes, what's the in-universe explanation for why magic in Dark Sun works so differently? Where did the gods go? Is it related? I have played a tiny bit of Dark Sun, but I haven't played a lot. It's a really good setting. One of the more interesting things is the way magic works, because it robs. There isn't the influx of magic, and the Dark Sun sphere is kind of blocked off from things as well. Much like Kryn space, the world of Kryn, Dragonlance, is blocked off. It's like the gods have walked away from the world, and they made sure that nobody else could get in there either. So it's kind of interesting. You can access Kryn through spell jamming, from travelling through the Phlogiston and getting through the sphere portal just like anybody else, and that's probably the easiest way to get to Kryn. Other than that, it's really difficult. As for the magic and stuff, they don't have a weave or anything like that in Dark Sun, and if you just cast spells as you would in Faerun, then it's going to devastate the life around you. It's going to actually drain life from the world. Yeah. And in Forgotten Realms even, actually this is just general gaming theory about magic and across multiple settings. There seems to be an underlying deep think that most fantasy fiction writers have, is that there's ebbs and flows of magic. There's levels of magic, like it's a substance which is moving like a tide through the multiverse. Some worlds are rich in it and some will not. In Rifts, the Palladium setting, there's a surge of it which corresponded with this mass devastation and death of people, which tore open the ley lines, and all these sites became massive interdimensional portals. Same sort of thing with Faerun. Faerun's rich in magic, whereas Athos is not. And most of the magic has taken place through psychic power. So there's a lot of development of imbuing psychic energy into objects and things like that. So there's a workaround. And you have categories of magic users such as defilers who don't care about destroying the world and just rip magic through anything, and they use live sacrifice and things like that to use soul energy. And it's really in Dungeons and Dragons, sorry if I'm like blathering on really quickly, in Dungeons and Dragons, the will of living mortal creatures changes the environment around them. So gods use that will, that belief, to effect change in the world. Gods can't do it all by themselves. They need the belief of followers. So they are aspects of the belief of followers, and they are that belief given a direction of its own, and that it then feeds back and uses that belief of them to effect change. So if all of the people in the world stop believing in that god loses enormous amounts of power. And AO has made sure that is reinforced with the Time of Troubles storyline. The gods were not paying enough attention to their mortal followers, so AO said, right, yeah, you have to incarnate as mortals and sort it out. Axe is an underrated poison. If you ingest, I'd imagine so. If you ingest an axe, you would probably die. Yeah, that's a great one. I'm going to have a dwarf say that at some point. Just put a tiny weeny little sliver, glass sliver in the shape of an axe in somebody's drink. And they're like, what? It's like, what? Spits up blood. You just swallowed axe poison. Endrox, sorry, has lots of questions. Why can't wizards plant magical forests, farms, and then harvest said plants for lots of money? They can. There's no reason why they can't. It may just be that it's very difficult to grow magical plants. Maybe there's resources in the area which limit the amount of magical plants that can grow there. For instance, taking a real-world example, when people first immigrated to New Zealand and they tried raising animals here, they discovered there was a great shortage of selenium in the soil, and it made all the animals sick. So they had to add fertilizer from other countries to add selenium back into the soil here. And now it's fine. But even so, they still market selenium as a trace mineral that the people in New Zealand need, even though there's actually heaps of it now. Do were-rats hate cats? That's a good question. I'm going to go with yes. They do. They just don't like the smell of them. When people in D&D have mirrors, are they like the ones we're used to having, or are they polished metal plates people used until 65 years ago? Yeah, they don't have the same technology to make the silver-backed mirrors, because that's only from like 1835, I think it was, where we first came up with those. Yeah, I think so. 1835? Sounds about right. So before then they just used, in ancient times they used polished obsidian, and then of course they moved on to using polished metals, and that would be relatively common in Dungeons and Dragons as well. Most mirrors would be polished silver, but there's no reason why they couldn't have glass in front of a silver plate. Sure. And of course magic, they can use magic as well to make a perfect mirror image of somebody, or a hologram of someone. Yeah, but I imagine that would be more expensive and difficult. What is the limit on types of creatures you can bring with you on a quest, or is there one? What is the limit on type of creatures you can bring with you on a quest? That's from Andrew Muirhead. Are you talking about companion creatures? Are you talking about mounts? Are you talking about familiars? It just becomes a matter of time management, and I would say if somebody's got a companion creature, they're responsible for its feeding and upkeep and things like that. But and the general rule is, if you're in combat and something like that, and you need to use a companion creature or a familiar or something like that, they use your action to make an action. So it's basically assumed that your character is spending its action commanding or controlling that beast to do what it needs to do. So that limits how useful they are. Just recently, I insisted that my players in their Cormier adventure, they're outside Arabelle. It's the middle of the month of Hammer. It's the start of the month of Hammer, so it's really, really cold. Lots of snow flows, snow and that sort of thing. And I insisted that they use mounts, because you just wouldn't walk somewhere in deep winter. That's a recipe for getting killed. And so they had mounts. And they got into combat with a bunch of bandits, and one of the characters decided to run their mount through a bunch of bandits and killed 4 of them in one go. It was really impressive, because I wanted to impress on them that using mounts in combat is very good. That's the reason why paladins are a thing, because they started off as cavaliers. Paladins are a direct sort of descendant of cavaliers, and cavaliers used horses, which made them interesting, because there was something that were really good outside of dungeons and not that great inside of dungeons, but you would still have cavaliers and things using lances in dungeons, which was interesting back in the day. Relatively new to D&D. Sorry, I need to... Can I scroll up? Relatively new to D&D, and I have a few modules, but I think it's time for me to make a campaign, and I really want to have emphasis on behemoths. Any suggestions? Behemoths, yeah. Mammoths, dinosaurs, Roths, big aurochses, like huge big cattle, titanotheres, any of the megafauna from that time period. There's still a few of them in the more Arctic areas of the world in Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, just take existing large creatures, like use dinosaur templates, but use the use the stats of dinosaurs, but create mammal versions of them for behemoths. And you can have far realm things, and you've got mage bred creatures, which are just normal creatures swollen to huge size, so increase the challenge rating a little bit. Yeah, for sure. But of course, behemoths eat a lot. They're very disruptive to the environment. They're used to different ages of the world where there were different types of plants and things like that. So, yeah. Behemoths will quickly devastate farmlands and things like that. And farmers, when they get together in a group, are devastating. Yeah, they can kill off most large creatures. So they would probably be far away from civilization for the most part. Must do a Paladin class video. Yes. Levi Morn. Yes, I must. Yeah, there was a Wuxia article in Dragon Magazine way long ago, and Karatur is a huge setting. It's a huge body of lore. I've done a brief overview on it only, but all those different nations have their own rules and things, for sure. This is great. I'm really enjoying just like chatting with you guys, for sure. I haven't even touched my paintbrush. Here's something that I painted earlier, though, if you can see it. This is the terrain set that I got from an artist who does this sort of sculpting, and I've just been painting it. This is a kitchen, if you can see that. And I was planning on painting the frost giants from Reaper Bones. So yeah. Actually, I'll get through these questions and I can do that and talk at the same time. Are you going to do videos on minor demons and devils? Yes, I am. Orc Boss, if you're here, thanks for showing up. Yes, I am going to do more videos on those, for sure. Yeah, really nice terrain, that stuff, got to say. Any thoughts on naval combat? Yes, that will be covered in the sort of weapons and things you can find on Spelljammer ships. Whoa! Thanks, Dube. Thank you very much. Awesome. Thank you very much. What is your favourite D&D beastie to play as, with, or against? Okay. My favourite beastie to play would be Warforged. They're awesome. I really love playing Warforged, and other than that, Revenants as a monstrous type of character. Revenants are really cool because I love getting my teeth into the reason why they're a Revenant in the first place, and playing that sort of tortured soul, you know, real goth sort of aspect to it. But I had a really kind of a humorous guy. I was playing World of Warcraft, the role-playing game, and I was playing a Revenant guy named Humidor, Farfalion Rondon, and he didn't sleep at night. He was one of the Undying, what do you call those guys? It's been a long time since I played World of Warcraft. And he didn't sleep, so every night he would dig a trench around the entire campsite, and they would wake up with fortifications around them. And yeah, basically his job was to wake them up if they ever had any sort of danger happen. So he was fun. Have you read Gary Gygax's role-playing mastery? Selenium makes you anxious. Galahad, Castle Anthrax, and Spain. Yes. Wow, you guys are talking to each other. This is great. I haven't actually read a lot of stuff by Gary Gygax directly. I've read a few of his editorials and things in the old Dungeon magazines, Dragon magazines. But I haven't read any of his gaming theory and stuff like that. And I haven't read his novels. I'd really like to. Yeah, and a lot of Ed Greenwood's novels. I've read some R.A. Salvatore novels, of course, and I've read all the Dragonlance novels and really enjoyed those. Actually, I need to reread those. It's been a very long time since I've read them. So yeah, definitely. I have a player who doesn't know the character's abilities, despite myself stating several times that everyone should be comfortable with their characters. I'm prepared to talk to them respectfully and in private, but I'm not sure what to do if they continue to remain purposefully ignorant. Obtuse players. I am guilty of that myself. Basically, if you take the time to sit down with them before a session and go over combat strategies and things like that with their character, it will both be good because you'll be spending one-on-one time and interacting. You'll have their undivided attention because they're distracted by things. That's why they're not investing enough into the game. they'll understand that it means a lot to you, and you'll both get a better understanding of their character. And sometimes players don't really need a huge understanding of their mechanics of their character. They need to understand what their character wants to do, and then your job as a dungeon master is to facilitate their enjoyment of the story by bringing those mechanics into their point of view. So giving them tools and things that they can use to accomplish cool things in the game. And the more they realise that that's how you achieve cool things in your game, the more interest they'll have in it. But other than that, it's a matter of engagement with that person. They may feel like they're there to unwind and relax, and they don't want to have to think about rules and things. Maybe it's something that is similar to, like, maybe they're an accountant in real life. They don't want a number crunch. So there could be that as well. I really don't know the nuances of your relationship with that person, but it's your friend. Take the time. What was your favourite? Michael Frazier writes. Oh, that was from Chai, by the way. Hi, Chai V. Michael Frazier writes, what is your favourite moment as a player and your favourite moment as DM? My favourite moment as a player, there are so many, I can only list the most recent, and that was when a level 18 or level 20 tiefling character had a Vorpal blade. He went into combat with a big giant guy, like a hellish lieutenant, because we're getting ready to fight Asmodeus, so we're fighting through hell lieutenants. And this big giant came charging at him, and my first roll in that combat round was a natural 20, and I removed his head. And I asked the DM, does he have another head? And the DM said, no. And then he had to basically retcon his story and come up with a reason why that creature had a instant res. Hey Keith, thanks man. Jeez, that's too generous. Happy GM's Day. Best damn Monster Ecology videos on the planet. Keep up the great job. Kids here love you, live it. Hello all the kids at Keith Hershey's outfit. Yep, I think about you guys when I'm making Monster Ecology videos for sure. Definitely. Also one of the main reasons why I keep it family friendly. And if anybody's ever had any comments removed from the comment section because you've said something really rude, that would be why. Lockhart Dragon, yeah. Beholder probably. Best Beastie, yeah. Beholders are really cool. Oh, Beholders are so much fun. Not just because they've got that Dalek-like mentality, but because of those magical abilities and things they can use. Because you give me a gnome thief or bard character with a lockpick and a port. Oh, I came up with a modular staff that has it unscrews and you can screw on new ends of it and things. So it's got mirror ends and hooks and saws and rope thingies and nets and stuff. And I stored all the components inside the sections of the staff. It's the halfling modular, the gnomish modular staff. Yeah, you give me a character with lots of resources, and I will think up all sorts of things to mess with your plans. And that's one of the reasons. One of the things I love about DMing is when the people at the favorite DM moment. Okay, favorite DM moment was I talked about this actually in an earlier video where I was like painting for hours and hours. I'd come up with a trap that was a dimensional trap. So it was an 8-sided dimensional trap, so it led off to 8 different mirror realities of the same trap. So it's like corridors that are connected to other corridors that are connected to the same thing, and it all inverses back on itself and is connected by a dark crystal. You smash the crystal and you break the planar boundaries, but if any of the characters have wandered off into the other mirror universes and they don't realise they're in a mirror universe, they can be lost to all time. So it was a really stupid trap to put with a bunch of player characters who didn't know what was going on. But we managed. It was okay in the end, but I probably won't do it again. But what happened in this adventure is, so one of the player characters he worshipped a god of trickery, and he decided he was going to trick the god of trickery in this specific instance, and I thought, well, we can't have this. So he got duped by his god into walking into this trap, this multi-dimensional trap. And they decided to split up and go off these different corridors to see what was down the end of them. And little did they know that each one of them was walking into a mirror universe. Walking from the opposite direction were mirror universe versions of their own party members, or in some cases their mirror version of themselves was walking down that corridor from a different direction. And not only that, but these characters, different things had happened to them in their life, their recent history. So one of the other player characters had a companion who died, got killed by a mind flayer. And in this particular universe, that didn't happen. So all of a sudden, he's confronted with this this NPC who he has actual strong emotions for, is now alive and is walking with another companion. And some of them my favourite moment was sitting back at that table for a good 8 minutes or so. I didn't say a word. I just shut up. Everybody was talking amongst themselves. One person was talking to themselves in character, talking as their player character to an NPC that was a version of themselves, and they were actually having a conversation entirely within their own imagination. It was brilliant. If you can ever manage to get a bunch of people doing that, they just go off into complete immersion. That was my favourite moment as a Dungeon Master. But yeah, if you're going to do something like that, really keep notes, very detailed notes about what everybody's doing, because it's extremely hard to manage. So yeah, that was that. What are you most excited for when Strongholds and Followers releases? Matt Colville's record-breaking Kickstarter, which I'm not surprised at all. So Matt Colville, yeah, I did, Aaron. I told the story ages back. Yeah. So Matt Colville has created a Strongholds and Followers project, which also includes his funding for his live streaming of his game, which I'm looking forward to. Although I'm not a huge consumer of live streams, I can make it through most of an Acquisitions Incorporated one just because I love the Jerry style. The way he uses language is just, it's beautiful. And I'm looking forward to the way that Matt Colville runs the game, because it's old school and it's quite different from that Acquisitions Incorporated. He's literally, broadcast games I think work best when it's a bunch of people just really enjoying each other's company and they're not thinking about the cameras and things like that. It's very hard to do. That's one of the reasons why I wouldn't broadcast my own game at home, because we talk about personal stuff in our lives, and having a camera on us would alter the enjoyment of the game, I think. Or it has in my experience in the past. So I'm looking forward to his Kickstarter project, which is covering, in the older editions of the game, when you got to high level, you start to have more and more influence in the world around you. People look at your character as a person of renown. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to how the retinues and things work, how the artisans and tables and charts and things. I'm a big tables and chart person, so I love that. I backed it for the nice big plush leather-bound version of the book. I'm not that interested in the Crystal Dragon miniatures. I'll probably pick them up full price later on if there are any around. And obviously that's a different version of the Crystal Dragon lore that I put up videos for, which is fine. That's fine. Matt's he's more of a make up your own lore and guff stuff. He's more of a mechanics person, interest in. And you don't see him doing a lot of lore and stuff. In fact, he's the most anti-lore DM I've seen in quite a while. But he's very much on the game theory and management and the history of the game and things like that as well. There's other Kickstarters which I'm really looking forward to. There's a Dungeons and Dragons history coming out. It's a big feature-length documentary that the Dorks of Yore YouTube channel, and they've got a Patreon as well. I'm really looking forward to that, and I get to see little snippets of that as a supporter, such as old maps that these guys wrote back when the game was first being made, and places and locations, and interviews with people who created Dungeons and Dragons. It's going to be just awesome. But as for Matt's project, I'm not surprised at all that it took off to huge levels. Because he's very, very popular, and he's a huge subscriber base for very good reasons. He's a very charismatic man. He's one of the channels that I watch for sure. I also watch Jordan, PH of Silence. I watch his videos. I watch Arcane Forge's videos for his fantastic monster ecologies and how he's drawing the monsters at the same time. So I've backed him on Patreon as well. And yeah, crafting videos, of course, I watch a lot of those. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the charts and tables, definitely. Having that big, beautiful book in my hands. because I love the idea of a nice plush leather-bound book. Ugh. And I just want to see what he makes, you know. Oh yeah, and his pirate ships as well. I'm really looking forward to that, particularly from a Spelljammer point of view, because I want to incorporate that sort of thing into a future campaign. Yeah, in the distant future, like a year or two from now, I probably won't be living in this city. I'll be living out of town, looking after my parents are getting older now, so I'll be looking after their orchard and taking care of business there and maintenance, upkeep and stuff. So I'm going to be away from my home game, and so I'm going to be desperate for running games and things, and that's when I will bring a lot of gaming to you, for sure. Yeah. Hey, Arthur, how's it going, man? World of Monsters. Go and check out his channel, everybody. Yeah, man. Nice to see you. Okay, almost through for these questions. Man, you guys came up with some good questions. So, do you think it would be possible to have a Far Realm campaign where you actually spend a significant amount of time in the Far Realm? Thanks. Only if you are an aberration or playing a bunch of aberrations in the first place. That would be my caveat, personally. The Far Realm is warped. It is an alternate set of physics. So the universal laws of gravity and time and things are variable. They don't apply. So it's maddening for a reason. And there is a good precedent for this where a bunch of spellcasters thought they could protect themselves and travel into the Far Realm and learn all of time and space's secrets. And they got warped and twisted to the point where they became the Chaoti, I thought, Chaoti, and a distinct type of aberration themselves. So magic users who got covered in this black goo, which preserves the mutated mass which is inside there into some semblance of form, and without it they just disintegrate into mewling craziness. But yeah, it drives you insane. That's the whole point of the Far Realm, is it's wildly different physics. Its very definition is a place which just doesn't conform to normal laws of physics, so it's very hard to describe. One of the little projects that I have on the back burner, just sort of sitting over there piling up with dust, is describing a section of a possible part of the Far Realm, which is a huge, gigantic, like space-sized living entity, where other creatures live inside it in parts of its organs and things which are the size of star systems. And so you have creatures like the Grell and the Grick, and yeah, that Neogi and other sort of creatures, like the things that became the Neogi, and the things that became the Mind Flayers are the parasite organisms that lived inside this thing, this living realm. So that was my idea of combining all of that and explaining where these creatures could have come from and what it would be like to be inside this place. But of course, you step foot into a nerve as it's firing, and you get flash fried with massive bolts of electricity. And some areas are just pure acid or non-breathable atmospheres, or you get attacked by moon-sized leukocytes, or T cells, which are trying to kill you because you're a foreign entity. So yeah, I give it some thought. Good question. Briggs 6262 writes, what are some good obscure creatures that can be warlock patrons? Can dragons be patrons? Yes, they can. Ancient dragons, particularly gold dragons, can certainly be patrons. Gold dragons spend a lot of their time. Imagine a cat that sleeps and dreams, and its dream is reality. That's gold dragons. They create a dream realm, a dreamscape around themselves, and can manipulate mists and things and create structures and things. The essence of dragons. Dragons are, and I had a big debate about Dragonborn and Boobs. And there's actually lore in 3.5 edition about the reason why Dragonborn females have boobs. Is because Bahamut created Dragonborn from mortal followers who were mammals, and so they kept some of those aesthetic aspects. And I was describing in my video why there would also be a biological reason why that could happen, that the process of creating eggs with such developed young in them would be a huge energy drain on creatures, so yeah, it would need fat reserves. But dragons are not reptiles, and they're not saurian, they're not mammals, they are not monotremes, they are a distinct different type of creature. They're a magically, elementally bonded creature like Genasi and things. They don't have an origin in Toril or any other prime material world. They came from somewhere else. One of the interesting things on Dark Sun is Athasian wizards, the Defilers, who just rip energy from the environment slowly but surely at very, very high levels, like 20-30th level, transform into Athasian dragons. They actually turn into dragons. So maybe there's some future lore, future development of Dungeons and Dragons where there is an actual origin in the past of dragons, because much like the Gith and much like Mind Flayers, they may have an origin in some other time in Dungeons and Dragons. We don't know. We don't know. How do you create monsters and give it stats? Oh, I already came up with this one. Oh, did I already do this one? Yes, I did. Great. Okay, so I've reached the end of the questions from everybody. So patrons, yes. Warlocks, patrons. So Spelljammer, you've got living worlds. You've got Kirin, you've got unicorns, you've got Fey Lords, you've got the creator races, you've got creatures that can travel through time. In some instances, there are ancient spells, particularly from Dark Sun, really, really powerful spells, where beings can create an elemental vortex, but they can't draw from that energy themselves. They must gift it to another. So there's some precedent in the lore that means that a creature which is not necessarily powerful enough to grant abilities to somebody directly could create an effect which can channel power to somebody directly. So there's that. Great, I can spend more time concentrating on the chat now. Dragonborn boobs, yeah. Yeah. White dragons are kind of funny. Yeah, it's been an intense kind of a stream. Okay, so I'm going to actually... Oh, yeah. This is the little project that I was talking about the other day. This is just glue stick on a notebook, by the way, and a snap lock container with glue stick on it to make it look more mysterious. This is a project which I kind of got obsessed with, and I don't know if any of you have picked up this the Taroka deck from Barovia, Strahd. But it's quite nice. And I've got this habit in my game of using things as a proxy for divination, so that the game will go in a random direction that I'm not expecting. So somebody casts a divination spell and I'll get them to draw 3 or 4 of these cards, and they come up with different things. But the cards are beautifully illustrated. The illustrator must have gone crazy, because this is so much artwork. As an illustrator myself, I can only imagine how much work this is. This is the work of years. Yeah, they're really beautiful, sumptuous artwork on them. And on the cards, on one side it's got a half burnt down candle, and on the other side it's got a fully lit, most of the way, whole candle. So, and of course they can be drawn right side up or upside down. So in this book here, I've said, okay, well, what if you had a deck of many things that wasn't the deck of many things? It was another artifact, a divine one, possibly origin in Timora, and it's called the deck of Boon and Bane. And the problem that I have with the deck of many things, as many people will tell you about this artifact level magical item, is that it can break your game. It can grant way too much power or be way too detrimental to individuals. How do you go about de-leveling someone mid-session? I probably wouldn't, unless it was temporary. Anyway, so let's say you draw this card, the Beast, and you draw the card side on. So it'll either be bright or dark candle, right? So I go to my little listing for the Beast, and if it was bright, the character can summon a celestial mount once per day for 1 year and 1 day. Mount is loyal and intelligent, and that's a permanent ability they have for 1 year and 1 day. A dark version of that card summons a fearsome and hungry predator to the location to do bloody battle to the death. The CR will be appropriate for a hard encounter. And all of the cards have got different positive or negative things that can happen to the character. And they won't necessarily encounter the entire deck of cards, they'll just find a card in a treasure pile, or they may find 3 or 4 cards. You can only ever draw 3 of these cards, but the effects can be quite amazing, such as giving you like thief-like abilities, or dark vision, or the ability to cast a wish, that sort of stuff. But none of them is like a game-breaking ability. It's mainly a very personal change, and it becomes a quirk of your character, such as there's a card which basically turns them into a pirate. It removes an arm and a leg and an eye. So, that sort of thing. So I came up with a lot of stuff there, and I'm planning on writing it out as like a PDF that I can give you guys, to any of you who have a Taroka deck, for sure, or yeah, if you're ever interested in buying one. Yeah, I got a lot of requests for Ravenloft stuff, and I haven't played Ravenloft. I've never played Ravenloft, and I don't have a lot of I've got a lot of reading material, but I'd imagine it's the same for you. If you're not currently playing something, you don't really want to read a lot of the lore on it, and Ravenloft is kind of like that for me. I don't have a huge fascination with vampires and things like that. I do like the idea of it, and I want to do more videos of it in the future. And those people who keep requesting Ravenloft stuff, sorry. It's just, yeah, it would be painful for me to do that, and I'd be stumbling through learning a lot of stuff from scratch. But Spelljammer stuff I'm really enthusiastic about, so I'm going to be talking a lot about that, and of course doing monster ecology videos, and doing the demon lords and gods and celestial realms and things. As for gods and stuff, Jordan's doing a really good job on doing ecologies of the different gods for Forgotten Realms. You're welcome. What kind of ways, Mitch Cohen asks, what kinds of ways have I introduced a deck of many things into my game? We have in the past, usually quite a ways in the past, like the 1990s, where the deck of many things was used, and we didn't really care what it did to the game. And in that particular instance, we fought death, and we had one of the worst fights with demons that I've ever seen, devils actually, because the DM ignored the rules about limitations on them gating in other devils. So every round we had to fight more and more and more devils, and yeah, they eventually wore us down. And I had one fateful roll there where I think I was swinging Badich, and it lopped straight into another one of the player characters, and there was some bad blood personally about that, even though it was not my fault. Yeah. Yeah, I also enjoy doing a lot of the demon stuff. Whoa! Brad! More painty! Okay, painting. Alright. Excuse me everyone as I... Thank you very much, Brad, that was crazy. I shift the camera down and I start doing some actual painting. Okay. I'll have to adjust this on the fly. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. I'm going to have to monitor my camera as I go. Okay, so this is a wet palette, as I mentioned. So it's basically a bit of foam rubber sponge down the bottom there, and just a damp handy towel, like a paper towel over the top of it. This is some leftover stuff from that kitchen piece. And I've taken the colour guide and the highlighting guide and out of the little guidebook thingy, and I've just made a little reference sheet for myself. And yeah, time to paint a miniature. These are the Regiment brushes from Army Painter. All of the stuff that I'm using is Army Painter stuff, apart from I've got some Master Series paints from Reaper. This is my old set of paints. which I made in a little like caddy box. And other than that, I've got my rack of paints, which is just cardboard hot glued together. It's really old actually, this is like 3 years old. I'm surprised it's still holding up. So the first thing I do when I don't do miniature painting like other people do. I don't base coat it with a spray paint or anything like that. I haven't washed this or anything. I'm just doing it as is. And this is how I paint a miniature. Glacially slowly, I'm afraid. But there's a problem. This is a can of Quick Shade. This is the dark tone Quick Shade, I believe. Yeah, I think. And Quick Shade is basically like, it's almost like furniture polish. If I can get it open, I haven't used it in a while. Yeah, it's almost like furniture polish, like a wood stain. So it's a polyurethane based type stuff. I'm just going to give it a stir. Oh wow. It's settled quite a bit. Lots of pigment down the bottom. Woo! This may have been a mistake because I haven't ventilated my area very well. So if my chat starts to get erratic, that'll be why. Okay, no, I'm not going to use this because it does actually require a lot of ventilation. And I don't want to fume out my room. I'm just going to use a small pot instead. Plus I really need to stir that up quite a bit. Luckily, here's one I prepared earlier. Alright, so I'm not going to put this on a wet palette, I'm just going to put it on the plastic lid, quite a bit of it. I'm going to use a bigger brush. In this case I'm going to use the vehicle brush. And I'm just going to brush it on here, liberally. And you'll notice that it goes into all the nooks and crannies. So the benefits of using Quick Shade is it's fast, has a good effect, it's easy, not too messy, it highlights what you need to paint really well, like because it's a white miniature, it's hard to see all the details, so this makes it a lot easier to see. It adds the bonding of the paint. And also, this is designed to also finish your miniatures, so it also forms a varnish coat that protects the paint underneath it as well. But typically I will just use it sparingly at the end of the painting, and I'll just use a matte varnish instead, which is like basically clear Quick Shade, but not shiny. So as you can see, it's covering on pretty quickly. A lot of beautiful detail on this miniature, like scroll work on the etching on the axe and things. Of course, frost giants probably didn't make that axe itself. It was probably made by a cloud giant, or possibly a storm giant. Frost giants don't have enough time. They don't have the inclination to craft cunning metalwork and magic. They'd much rather be eating a boar off a stick, raw, and telling great stories of their exploits. They go raiding for metal and things, and give the metal and things that they raid to other giants, and the giants do the crafting for them. In exchange, the giants may call upon the frost giants to fight their enemies for them, which the frost giants are only too happy to do. ASMR, DME, D&D, and incredibly complex subjects. If you can give me a link to that Flying X-Blade, I'd be appreciative. there's a lot of D&D channels. It's hard to keep up. And I'm subscribed to a lot of people who are very inactive after a while, which is always sad. Particularly when there's a channel which I've got a lot of hope for their future. But doing D&D channel, like anybody who's done this sort of work, it's a daily commitment that you have for years. So you have to be really passionate about a subject in order to make a YouTube channel about it, that's for sure. Because if you stop making videos for any length of time, people will stop watching you. And one thing I've noticed about my channel, which is quite different from others, is that although I don't have a huge subscriber count, I've got a lot of you wonderful people viewing my videos on a regular basis. So once you guys sort of started watching, you just carried on watching, which is really great. And all of the fantastic questions and interactions I have with you on the comment section, and also now the community section as well. That community section, by the way, is a feature that you are granted by YouTube automatically after a while. Not every channel has a discussion tab that turns into a community tab like that, but I'm ever so thankful that it did, because it allows me to ask you questions and things and post polls and stuff like that, and talk to you on a regular basis. So any of you who have not been checking that out, certainly do. Okay, so you notice that this pulls and all the cracks and stuff, and really you're only supposed to leave it in there for about 30 seconds or so. And then you take a handy towel and you give it a dab. Dab, dab. You're supposed to like wick it with the pointy bit of a bit of paper, but I'm way rougher than that. And so the idea is that the quick shade has settled into all of the nooks and crannies, like so, and it's sort of pre-shaded it, and now you can see where all the highlights of the object are and where all the shadows are, basically. And you're supposed to leave that to dry for quite a while. So here's another miniature that I prepared earlier, a little bit. I'm just doing the face on this one. So I'll leave that for like 48 hours or so to dry completely, and then I'll start painting a new miniature in the meantime. So frost giants, they have a bluish skin. There's not a lot of skin showing on this figure. About the only skin that I can see bare is the knees, the upper arms, and that's it. So I'm just going to show you how you apply paint directly. That's not how I dab. Sweet. Yeah, the Sages of Forgotten Realms. You'll see me on there quite often. TV magic has been used! It's true. So the darkest blue that I'll be using is deep blue on this, and that's like the very, very shadow. So typically I base coat, which is just basically the first coat of paint on the miniature. Whether that's spray painting or not, it's entirely up to you. This is just me brushing it on. That's what I prefer. You need to shake the stuff up a lot, and Brad will tell you that you need to pour off a little bit of resin from the top the first time you use it, which is this is the first time I've used it, and also take a little, like a ball bearing or a piece of plastic or something like that, put it inside there so you can shake it around just like a can of spray paint, because this paint has got a lot of pigment in it. Model paint, the paint stuff is ground up real fine and there's a lot in there, whereas like a student acrylic has got big flakes of pigment. It's just as useful. It's fine. I used really cheap model paints, like that's a student's acrylic that I use for terrain and things like that. Every now and then I'll even use it on a miniature if it doesn't matter too much, but not for a base coat. And I'll tell you why. Because it beads. Now I put it on directly. It's pouring off a little bit. Oh, that's come out pretty nice actually. I put it on directly onto the miniature. The reason being is that it won't bead off because I haven't added any water to it. Just like so. And I'm being pretty rough with this one because I have a lot of miniatures that need painting. And I just don't have, I ain't got time to do a masterclass job of painting these things. I need to get it on, I need to get it done before the next Kickstarter arrives. Those of you who are not familiar with Bones Kickstarters, where have you been? Who are you? Who do you work for? Not too smart frost giants, yeah. They're not too smart. Intelligence is not an aspect of frost giant culture that is celebrated. Strength is everything to frost giants. I hope I'm getting that in camera. Strength and prowess in battle. To a limited extent, your ability to tell a story, to skald. Giant language, Jotun is essentially Norwegian. So you can use Google Translate to turn Norwegian words into, turn whatever your native tongue is into Norwegian, and that will suffice. There are weird noises coming from outside. Oh, it's a bird, I believe, or a bike. Right, so really dark blue, just one layer. Thanks, Tracy. I've been on stream for a little bit now. I had enormous problems getting started. And I would take my time, but this miniature has been sitting around for a while, and I should bring in the box of miniatures. I have a huge backlog of miniatures to get painted. Plus, I kind of want to teach myself how to paint quickly. And if any of you are fans of Devious Dungeons painting, Brad's painting techniques, he does a lot of airbrush work and stuff as well. He's really good at it. But we would occasionally just hang out and paint miniatures together over like Google Hangouts. And it's a lot of fun. Also, Kevin's Google Hangouts painting miniatures, if any of you get invites for those, I'd really love to actually join him for some of those. And that's just literally hanging out with people and painting miniatures with them. Okay, so then we've got the blue. Just one coat. And as you can see, it's held on perfectly fine. It hasn't beaded off. There's like white on the ridges and things, but that's going to be highlighted anyway, so it's all fine. So people who have issues with paint and stuff beading on bones, I wonder whether it's just a matter of you putting water in there, watering it down, because it's vinyl, it doesn't like water. But I mean, I'm not a painting expert, for sure, otherwise I would have got this quick shade brush put in here in the water straight away. It's okay, it's the first time I've used it. You'll notice that I don't I don't slam my brush up and down in the, this is just a jar of water. I don't ram the brush on the bottom there, I just tap it on the sides. These war paints, army painter brushes are really quite good quality, and the paint won't, if you just ram it down there, the paint will get rammed into the end of the brush, which is not good. So don't do that. And also when I'm painting, you'll notice that I don't ram the brush onto the thing. You want to stroke the brush across an object, not dab the brush onto something. Yeah, it's designed to wick and move. Anyway, I'm sure anybody's painted miniatures will be able to tell you that. Okay, so what next? I'll just put your hand in the wet paint, AJ. That's a good idea. That's okay. There's no way I'm going to get this all painted in one sitting. I'm probably going to end the stream soon, to be honest. How long's it been? It's been a couple of hours that I've been doing this. Mind you, it took me a while to get going. What I'd like to do actually is finish off the painting of these kitchens that I started. The kitchen. So I'm going to let that dry over here alongside of its buddy. All I've got to do is finish off the metal bits and the highlights on the bread and the sacks and things. So if you'll forgive me. So I need some gunmetal. Axe poison. I poisoned him with my axe. Yar. Frost giant in your party, and he kept getting his tongue frozen to his axe. It's hilarious. Notice I'm shaking the hell out of this pot of paint the first time I've used it, so I just assume that half of it is solid. Okay. Alright. Pour off some of the... Oh wow. This really is amazing paint. Like if that was Citadel paint, it would come out as like a splurge of goo. But that is perfect. Wow. It's incredible paint. Okay, I've only got a couple of things I need to highlight. I'm just going to use gunmetal. Just on the edge of the stove hood. You can see by the fact that I'm not dabbing my brush back into the paint all the time that this paint is really good. Coverage is superb. For a metallic paint, that's pretty amazing. Notice Brad just got a big bunch of Vallejo paints. They're another brand that's quite good. Airbrushes will run on pretty much anything that's thin enough, I believe. I would like to get an airbrush at some point, mainly because of the time it would save me. And considering the amount of money that I've invested into paints and miniatures, why not? And for a penny and for a pound. Okay, that's good. Just the handle, oven, hinges. And hinges on the pot. Hard to see from that angle. And there's some implements on the roof as well. Oh, on the wall, I should say. So it looks like there's a sieve or a mallet. There's a knife. And there's I think that's a spatula. Okay, that's good. See if I can turn that around and show you. So these two wall sections fit together like so, just perfectly snug. So it's designed to be put into the corner of a room piece. In future, because I plan on doing these live streams every weekend now, from now on pretty much, around the same time, now that I've actually got it working. And I'm going to be doing a lot of sculpting and things, and I'm going to be showing you a painful and laborious way of making your own Dungeons and Dragons furniture, essentially making stuff like this. Instead of making a lot of modular things, I'm going to be building up set pieces and things slowly but surely. And just for my own enjoyment and talking to you guys while I do it. And it won't be like get something crafted in one session, much like I'm not going to be able to paint all of these in one session as I'd like to. But it's been great like talking to everybody, and hopefully I'll be able to pay more attention to the chat. My cyber arm? Hey Frederick, how to D&D? How's it going? To tell you the truth, I after years and years of crafting and using crafting blades and painting and stuff, you do get a pretty sure arm, to be sure. Okay. And there's a metal grill that this loaf of bread is sitting on. I'm just going to give it a light dusting of metallic. That's good. Okay. Yep. Since I've got this blue here, I might as well use it. And paint one of these pots blue. The advantage of the wet palette, as you can see, is that those paints don't dry out. This is paint that I used 3 or 4 days ago, and it's still perfectly wet and usable, which means you don't waste paint. The only place that paint should be drying is on your miniature. That looks good. I'm going to do this bowl as well. See a lot of people who they have terrain and things like that, and they're obsessed with painting everything a different colour. Well, I don't know if you've been into most people's kitchens, but they tend to get sets of things which are the same colour. So why not? Particularly in the medieval world, I mean, everybody in the town might have crockery the exact same colour. There's nothing wrong with it. They might say, yeah, you know that town down the road? You mean the one with the blue pots? Yeah, that's the one. Oh yeah, Blue Pot Town. I know it well. They had a 3-headed dog there one day. It was the work of dark powers. You never know, this bakery here might be the Blue Pot Bakery. Synonymous for its blue pots. Alright, and there's a bottle there which is going to be blue as well. Why not? There we go. Okay. Yes, I made my own wet palette. It's just a piece of cut off rubber. That's just foam rubber. the same sort of thing you'd find in a cushion. This is some handy towel or kitchen towel, just ordinary rolls of kitchen towel, and I wet the sponge below, and then I dampen the handy towel, and that stays damp for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And I just change the handy towel when I need to, and occasionally I'll take the sponge out and I'll clean it off. And it's in a snap-lock Tupperware container. Household implements that you can find anywhere. Okay, last thing I need to do here is I need to apply some yellow to the top of the bread, and there's some napkins and pieces of paper there. The pieces of paper are just going to get some white and yellow mixed together. Oh, here's a good example of the resiny stuff, the carrying medium, which is inside the paint pots. Obviously I need to give this a better shake. This is one of my older paint pots. Normally I'd have like Netflix or something playing in the background, and I'd be watching Frankenstein Chronicles or Altered Carbon or something whilst painting. Yep, there we go, that's more than enough. Same regiment brush. Use this brush for everything, honestly. If you were only going to buy one brush, that would be the size of brush that you need, regiment brush size. And that. You know what? That is all wrong. I should not be putting that on top of the bread, so I'm going to use it on the parchment instead, or the fabric, whatever it is. The grey of the resin itself is perfectly fine for the walls and things. I didn't really do a lot of stuff to the walls. How about that pot there? Give it a yellow ribbon. There's post-it notes on the wall. Bit of yellow. Now, that's it for the yellow actually. Doesn't look good on that bread at all. I'm going to have to come up with some sort of golden browns. What is the top of... That's a red brown on top of bread, isn't it? So, I'm going to use a wash, a tone. I wonder if red tone would be too much. Oh shit, sorry. There's only one way to find out. This could look awful. I'm just going to try a tiny weeny little bit. Oh wow, that's got a weird colour. Let's test it out. Yeah, that's right. There we go. Mix it with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red wash. I just wanted to give it that glazed look on the bread. That's perfect. You know how you put a bit of egg on top of the bread and give it that glazed look? That's what I'm going for. Yeah, that looks good. Good. On top of this. Okay, great. Last but not least, a little bit of matte white. the bits of paper. Notice I haven't even washed off my brush. Rough. And you notice that I haven't mixed water with any of my paints. I literally just thin it out on the dry brush, if on the dry palette, the wet palette if I need to water it down a bit. And then I'm basically almost dry brushing, which I have a special brush for those notes on the wall because they're more yellowed from age. Alright, I'll do. Can mix a bit of brown and yellow, blue to make green. Green and yellow and blue make green for that last little board that the bread buns are sitting on. Just mixing on the fly. Learn your colour wheel. There we go. That one a green pot lid. That looks nice. Alright. Last but not least, just slap some of that tone, dab, and there we go, all done, finished. Just wanted to get that finished off. Okay, alright. It's enough painting. Unlike Brad, I feel a bit self-conscious painting because I'm not the most perfect, but that's an introduction to a couple of ways of like starting miniatures, and I got to finish something off. So there you go. I'm going to end the stream here. Sorry if I didn't get to any of your questions in the chat. Sorry, I'll bring this camera up. Sorry if I didn't get to any of your questions in the chat. It was a lot busier than I thought it would be. I don't actually know how many people we have in here right now. 56! 56! Good grief. Hi everyone. Yeah, delicious bread. Hey Jared, how's it going? Rather, where are the colours situated on the colour wheel with an alignment chart? Oh man, imagine if you had a C alignment ability, but it actually had people's alignment as mixes of colours in their aura. Why not? That'd be cool. No problem. It's been great having a chat with all of you guys. Hello everyone. Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome. As I say, I'm going to be doing this on a regular basis, so save up your questions and things on the videos that I post during the week, and I'll mostly be talking about those and just crafting or doing something at the same time. It's 0.1% in the poppy seeds is axe poison, just on the buns. Special, but don't tell anyone. Thank you, Rusty. Thanks everybody who sent in those fantastic questions. Javier, I'm expecting to see a YouTube channel from you soon. Yellow Lord. Okay, everyone. Thanks, Scott. Yeah, great chatting with you. Great comments on the videos, by the way. Thank you very much for all your wonderful interactions. Domain of Dread for Ravenloft. Good questions. Domains in general are an interesting idea. It's a sub-dimension, so yeah. I like that idea. Wizards being able to carve off their own little sections of reality, and reality being parcelled out in arcane ways. And then there's the crystal spheres of the Spelljammer as well. The fact that the realities that people see, the universe that they see when they're looking up in the sky, is not real. It's just an illusion. And I'll be getting into more details on that in future. Yep, weekend chats. That's the way. I did warn everyone, Jared. You weren't paying attention. I'll always post on my my community chat if I'm going to be streaming and what time I'll be streaming. It should be this time of day all the time, on the same day every week, hopefully. Barring me not being able to do it, in which case I'll tell you whether I will be streaming or not. But yeah, pay attention to the community tab on the Facebook, not the Facebook, the YouTube. Yeah. Yes, I know. Yeah, thanks, Frederick. I'm almost glad that a lot of you didn't see the start of the stream, because it was an absolute disaster. I couldn't get it to work. It was terrible. 2.5 hours. Yeah, I know. Crazy. It's now part of the Shadowfell. Yeah, so I'll try and schedule a stream next time. Scream. Come to Ravenloft and schedule a scream. Okay, everyone. I'm going to be signing off now. Oh, nice. Thank you. Thank you, Nuclear Dubs. Okay, I'm heading off. Thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you on the next video. No, I can't get it to start.